It is said that finance is not merely about making money, but also achieving our goals and protecting the fruits of our labor. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Coming up in today's program, we discuss the 2019-2020 budget allocations in our Get the Facts segment. And then later, we take a look at our musical history through the eyes of Mikey Bennett. You don't want to miss a minute, so stay tuned.
Emergency warning signs of influenza in children include fast or troubled breathing, bluish skin color, dehydration from not drinking enough fluids, sluggishness, not waking up or not interacting, irritability, that is, the child not wanting to be held, fever with a rash, and flu-like symptoms which seem to go away but return with fever and a cough. Children exhibiting these signs need urgent medical attention. In adults, emergency warning signs include difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, pain or pressure in the chest or abdomen, sudden dizziness, confusion, and severe or persistent vomiting. If you see any of these signs, consult your doctor or a public hospital or clinic close to you. A message from the Jamaica Information Service, the Voice of Jamaica.
The annual budget indicates what will be done with the finances of the country throughout the course of the year. It outlines how much money government plans to spend on security, roads, water, housing, and other services it provides. Find out more next.
Welcome to Get the Facts. Today we talk budget, and our resource person is financial analyst Dennis Chung. Dennis, the minister has tabled a budget which is just less than $1 billion more than last year. What's your first impression?
Yeah, I'm happy about the fact that the budget is relatively flat. Yeah. Because when you look at it, the debt amortization has gone down by $9 billion. So effectively what it means is that you have an additional $9 billion that can go into expenditure within the economy. So it's a good thing. The other thing when I look at the budget is that it's clear that the policy of the government is to go after law and order issues.
Right, because of the amount that is allocated to
national security. And also, very importantly, the judiciary system. So what you see now is that where the judiciary system was divided into various segments like the Supreme Court and that sort of thing, they've now combined it into one, which speaks to maybe they're getting somewhere with the court management system, and they've increased the budget from a recurring side by 25% on the judiciary system, which is good.
Right.
They've also increased things like the budget for the Auditor General recurring expenses have increased by 13%, and for things like the Office of the Child Advocate by 11%. It suggests to me that the government is pushing to address the infrastructural and other issues that have been plaguing us and preventing us from growing. So
you
for me, it's a good thing.
About infrastructure. But Dennis, you just mentioned recurrent and capital. Tell us, explain to our viewers, what do we mean? The budget is made up of two elements, not two accounts. Explain that for us.
Your recurrent expenditure is expenditure that when you spend on it, it is consumed within the year. So salaries, for example, you pay salaries every month, and that is a recurring expenditure. Or if you have expenses for stationery, things that you use every day, those are things that are consistent. You're always paying them. The capital expenditure are one-time expenditures. So if you build a hospital right in this location today, you're not going to build a hospital next year again in this location. That hospital will serve you for maybe 50 years. So that's a capital item. Things that have a use for longer than a year is regarded as capital item. Road infrastructure, buildings, motor cars, that sort of thing is capital.
You talked about hospital just now. The Ministry of Health on the capital side has got some 3.7 billion. Yes,
1.8 billion increase, or 97% over last year. That for me says that they're going to be focusing on upgrading the facilities, the hospital facilities, maybe through buildings or new equipment. So this is an excellent move, I think, because what it means is that you're going to have more services for persons in the community.
The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation has gotten, on the capital side, some 18 billion.
Right. It's actually a reduction by 11.1 from 29.6 billion. However, it's still a substantial amount of money. And what has been said is that they're going to focus a lot on dealing with the issues of squatting and informal settlements and maybe upgrading some of that infrastructure, because it's a problem.
Yes. There is something to say about the allocation to the Ministry of Finance, because since we're having less debt servicing, but it seems to me like the recurrent is more than it was last time.
Yeah, that might be because of the increase in salaries, right? So some of the increases that you see is a 4% increase in salaries across the board, so you're going to see some of that increase happening across the ministries for that.
And also the monies that would be allocated to debt servicing, which is now, as you said, is 9 billion less.
9 billion less on the debt amortization.
Explain debt amortization for
debt amortization. If I borrow $100 and I'm paying back 10% a year, then I'll be paying interest of $10 on a debt of $100. The debt amortization is when you start paying against the principal, which is the $100. So in addition to paying the $10, you pay down the $100 so that you're accruing less interest each year. So it's a good thing when we do that. When you look at the debt to GDP ratio, which is something that's very important, we're now going to be below 100%. The last time that happened is 20 years ago. So I don't think people realize how significant that is, because the less debt you have is the more money that you have to spend on the economy, on social services, on capital infrastructure and that sort of thing. And I think that is what we're seeing coming out of the budget now, because debt servicing has reduced from 37% of the budget to 34%, which is significant. At one point when we were almost on the brink of disaster, we were over 60% paying out debt. So if you earn $1,000 a week and you're paying all of that in debt, you don't have the money to live.
Yes.
The less we pay in debt, it means that we actually have more money now to pump into the economy.
Yes. Why is it important for people to understand the budget and at least to pay attention? It seems at budget time, so some people listen and some say, oh, it doesn't matter. Why? Tell us why it is important for us as the citizen in general to understand.
Well, it's important for us to understand because the budget, whatever happens in the budget, affects all of us. So the way the government spends the money affects you. The way government put on new taxes affects you also. So it's important for you to know that, just from the point of view of understanding as a citizen how you're going to be affected by these things and what the policy shifts are. But importantly also, if you're a business person and you're looking at the budget, you can tell where the expenditures are going to happen. And you can say, okay, let me shift my business to take advantage of the expenses that are coming. So if I look at this and I see that the NWC, for example, is going to be spending billions more, that is infrastructure work. The hospitals are going to be there. So from a business point of view, I was saying, okay, so it means that there's going to be more construction work available, which means that there's going to be more money for spending. So maybe these are the products that I should be looking at, our services. So it helps from that point of view. You can't live, it's like living in a household and not knowing how your money is budgeted. You have a problem after a while.
Yes. We're talking budget on Get the Facts this week, and our guest is financial analyst Dennis Chung. We take a break. We'll come right back.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the streets to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
Jamaica, join a beach cleanup in your parish on International Coastal Cleanup Day 2015 on Saturday, September 19. Nadati up Jamaica and help clean up Jamaica's beaches. Get more information about International Coastal Cleanup Day at nadatiupjamaica.org.
Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica.
Welcome back. I'm Enthros Campbell. Our guest this week is financial analyst Dennis Chung, and yes, we're talking budget. Welcome back. Tell me now, what are some of the other positives?
Well, for me, I think that if you look at where the economy is going, right, and the developments that have been happening, I think that the country is in a very good situation, right, to project itself. But what we've been seeing is that we've been restricted. We sort of hit a glass ceiling in terms of growth, 2%. And when you look at what they're doing in this budget, it seems to be attacking a lot of those things, those inhibitors that have been preventing us from moving up from the 2%. I also think that, outside of the budget, in me talking to some of the people out there, the policymakers and the persons in authority, I think that certain actions and steps are being taken to address some of the issues we have outside of the budget, because the budget is just...
What are some of these?
Well, I can speak at NSWMA, for example. We're going to be carrying 100 garbage trucks this year. That is going to significantly impact the services that are out there. Some of the legislation that's coming on stream from our perspective at NSWMA, like the e-waste, for example, the Road Traffic Act, these things are going to modernize the legislation, and in conjunction with things like road improvements and that sort of thing, if you have a more modernized legislation, I mean, the money that you look at for the justice system here and Ministry of Education, I suspect includes a new traffic system, ticketing system, for example, also. What it means is that when you look at all of those things combined, the strategies that the Commissioner of Police has, I've had the opportunity to speak to him in terms of crime fighting. You put all of those things together, we're moving more towards the Vision 2030 of the place of choice to live. And that is what I love about everything coming together.
Yes. So the Minister is going to be making a presentation in Parliament on March 7, and then he will explain, how the budget will be financed and so on. But people, when they start listening, are confused with some of the terms. So help us with some of the terms. For example, GDP.
Your gross domestic product is really the amount of goods and services you produce within the country. So if the thing is produced overseas and imported, it's not a part of your gross domestic product. But once it's produced locally, it's a part of your production within the country, and it goes towards your gross domestic product, as the term says, your gross domestic product.
Right. Why is it important to have a good level of NIR, and what is it?
All right, because the NIR is like an insurance policy, right? So the standard is to have your NIR representing 12 weeks of import. So if something happens that there can be no production, for example, in the country for 12 weeks, at least we have 12 weeks worth of savings put aside. So it's like you were saying, I'm not going to be working for the next 3 months. At least I have 3 months worth of money put aside, and financial analysts will always tell you one of the most important things to do is put aside money that can last you for 3 to 6 months, so that if anything happens, anything can happen at all, you have money to live. And basically, that's what your NIR is.
Right. The government is guided by a fiscal policy. Right. Tell us a little bit more about the fiscal policy and some of the things that came up this year.
Well, the fiscal policy really is really policy that emanates from the government, the central government point of view. So, things like your direction in terms of taxes, that is fiscal policy. your direction in terms of how you deal with security. That is fiscal policy. The opposite to that, or the accompanying policy to that, people always talk about is monetary policy, which then is managed by the Bank of Jamaica. So things like money supply, inflation, and that sort of thing is monetary policy affected. But fiscal policy is any policy driven by the government that deals with the management of the economy.
Why shouldn't the average person be concerned about inflation and where it's at?
Well, inflation is very important, because if you have inflation look at Venezuela, for example, they're having inflation of 1,000,000% a year, which means that price on average is going up 1,000,000% a year. If your salary is going up 10% a year and prices are going up 1,000,000% a year, you have a problem. So it means inflation is very important, because inflation tells you how much prices have moved over the year or whatever period of time you're measuring. And it's important for the individual, because if your salary is not keeping pace in terms of moving with inflation, then it means that you're going to be earning less money from a real point of view.
So do we have a part to play, a role to play in inflation? Right?
We can be more productive, very important. The more of us that are working and producing, it means that you have more goods out there. We can be more responsible with our spending in terms of controlling inflation also, because it means that the more things that we are buying that are imported, it contributes to inflation also, for example. So things like the efficient use of gasoline is very important.
We can't end this interview without talking about growth.
Growth is targeted about 2% this year. The growth really is how much from after taking out inflation, how much you have moved the production needle. So if I'm earning $100 today and I have produced goods to start earning $110, then I would have grown by 10% or $10. So that is always important, because the more you grow is the more economic activity you have out there, more income that's earned, more taxes that come in, and the lower the debt to GDP ratio.
So is this projection of 2%, is it realistic?
It is very realistic. I personally think we should be more. And this is why I like the budget, because the budget is addressing the issue now of us not being able to get beyond that 2%. So if you fix these infrastructural issues, then you can get to 3 to maybe 5%.
Yes, thank you so much. Right. This has been Get the Facts, and our focus was the budget, 2019-2020 budget. Our resource person was financial analyst Dennis Chung. And the Ministry of Finance will put out a supplement next Sunday helping us to understand the budget, and it will be in the various newspapers, so look out for that. I'm Ben Thros Campbell. This has been Get the Facts. See you next time.
With Jamming. It's Reggae Month 2019. The streets dance as the nation recognizes this intangible cultural product it has given the world. Ocho Rios, Montego Bay, Linstead and Kingston, the birthplace of reggae. There is an event for the young and the early followers of the music. Come on everybody, let's dress up and go out. Let's celebrate this beat that unites all races. Reggae Month 2019, celebrating reggae's legacy.
On our roads, remember, take time, be courteous, drive good, walk good. Don't drink alcohol and drive. Don't drive tired or sleepy. Don't tailgate and don't overtake unless it is safe to do so. And always drive at a speed which will allow you time to stop quickly and safely. Let's keep it safe on our roads.
The story of reggae is one you've heard numerous times, as different people have told it in so many different ways. Today, in honor of Reggae Month, we bring you the Mikey Bennett story.
The music industry has been quite well documented, and to my recollection, it started more of an effort to play music that other people couldn't play than as an industry. So from where it started, for me, it started with sound system owners who wanted to remain exclusive, decided that the best way to do that was to, produce their own stuff. And people saw how important it was. Artists were, coming up. I think it was the birth of an industry. Reggae is the soundtrack of our lives, In other words, it's not like we made an effort to, boy, we're gonna like reggae. Reggae is of us, about us, with us, and it has remained true to us as a Jamaican expression. And when I say reggae, I don't make the distinction between fast reggae, slow reggae, ska. I just call Jamaican music reggae. It was very unstructured in the beginning and persisted like that for a number of years until people like Chris Blackwell saw the financial possibilities involved in investing. So I guess it really came to front with the Millie Small, that big hit that he had, and people started to see money. So this could in fact be an industry, and how popular music like ska was, that it gave rise to songs and bands, and people. Jamaica was dancing and people were enjoying themselves, and it probably was a good time in the history of Jamaica. Not everybody can do the twist. It kind of unearthed that spirit, that creative spirit in Jamaican, and we broke all of the recording rules, but we came up with a product that kind of represented the kind of Jamaican spirit, and that indomitable spirit, and it gave a sort of voice or expression to our Africanness. Like everybody growing up in my age, we had two sets of things. I grew up in the golden age of both Jamaican music and the Motown era and the Philadelphia era. And radio played a lot of American music. We were naturally drawn to the best of American music. But you realize that when you got to a party and they started to play the local section of music, because it was talking about things that you were familiar with. You went, and then you were able to see these individuals at stage shows and parties. So it became even more personal.
Standing at the party, watch me now. Ice cream, watch ya. Me a chat microphone from Melico stuff.
Music is just being constantly made. I don't think we have taken time out to actually figure out how we're gonna monetize the creation of all this music. But it is there. It is being consumed in every nook and cranny of Jamaica, every bar, everything, and in households. And then we have this phenomenon of this weekly dance, this nightly dance, music thing on corners. And it has opened up a lot of economic opportunities for people in corners, bars, people selling on the road. And so it is almost self-sustaining by the nature of how it is done. So it is always going to be part of our lifestyle. From the 70s, 80s, 90s, Jamaica celebrated a number of great icons. We talk about the Ernest Smiths, the Pluto Shervintons, the Dennis Browns, the Gregory Isaacs, the Alton Ellis, and then we get into the megastar region, the Jimmy Cliffs and the Peter Tosh, and then the Bob Marleys.
I can't refuse it. Oh, what you be got to be. Well, I feel like dancing.
Growing up, Dennis Brown was everybody's favorite singer. So when I got an opportunity to work with him, it was like the crowning, day in my life, in my musical history.
My head is anointed, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow all the days of my life.
I was led into professional music through some people that already did music. And the first time I got into a recording studio, and became a part of that creative process. I was hooked for life, you know. I realized earlier I didn't have the singing talent like a lot of my friends and compare, but I realized that my contribution could be through songwriting and later into production and later on into just mentoring young people. Because we have a studio at Grafton and we have a really close association with the Jamaica School of Music, I get a front seat, you know, front row look at a lot of the young talent coming out. And then we have a rehearsal room where we are now, and we have a studio, so I get to see and hear a lot of the young talent and older talent. And here at Grafton we provide a sort of meeting place. I'm really always excited about introducing, you know, new artists to old artists.
Mosquitoes can spread diseases such as dengue fever. Protect yourself from mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent that contains DEET. Sleep under a mosquito net, close windows before dark, open windows and doors during fogging, cover your body as much as possible, and wear light-colored clothing. Protect yourself from dengue and other mosquito-borne diseases. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding in your surroundings. A message from the Ministry of Health.
So many wish they could visit our shores. We live where they vacation. Brand Jamaica beckons all from the four corners of the earth.
Well, as a Jamaican, I have great pride in selling it. You know, your pride that you sell Jamaica with is something that it rolls off. Jamaica has so much to offer, and every time I have the privilege of bringing an executive down to Jamaica, an executive from an airline or a tour operator or a travel agency, and you take them across the country, you know, the pride that they said, wow, I can't imagine, especially when it's their first time. Wow, I love this.
Build it. Cherish it. Our wealth is Brand Jamaica.
This is where the magazine closes for today. I hope you found our program informative. Send your feedback to jamaicamagazine@gis.gov.jm. Stay informed on our social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, and of course there's Twitter. Or download our app on your Apple and Android devices to catch up on the go. You can also visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for more information. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.